What was that like watching UMBC take out Virginia, Grant? What was that like? Walk me through it, please.
Yeah, it was. I was in total disbelief, and you just felt like, early in the game, you felt like at some point Michigan's going to make a run, or excuse me, not Michigan. I heard you mention Michigan.
Yeah.
Virginia. Virginia was going to make a run, and obviously the way they played, they don't play with a lot of pace. But you just felt like at some point, okay, things would turn, and particularly coming out of halftime, where adjustments are made, and Virginia had a couple guys in foul trouble. I think Wilkins was in foul trouble, and it was almost as if at halftime UMBC felt, wow, we're just as good as this team. We can beat this team. So they were the team that came out in that second half. The score was tied 21-21, and it was just an unbelievable performance second half defensively and, of course, on the offensive end against the best defense, a team that just smothered other teams defensively. Teams could not score. They couldn't get into the paint. The dribble penetration was non-existent against them. And UMBC could do whatever they wanted. And so it was just, even as the second half started, and it was like they just got more and more confident as the game wore on. And so I probably did a horrible job on the call because I was shocked.
No, you guys were great. But you were giving voice to what we were all thinking watching it, Grant. I mean, at one point, I think Nance even said the rhetorical question of what is happening to Virginia. I think that came out of his mouth and it was great because that's what was coming out of my mouth. And I'm sure down in Virginia, there might have been an expletive or two coming out as well.
Well, you're right, and it was so out of character. I mean, Virginia, a team that throughout the regular season, dominating in the ACC, which you could argue and say was the top conference or one of the top conferences this year, but just never being rattled, never being worried, upset, playing the way they played, and just having their composure. And you saw that they were rattled. They couldn't figure this team out. They couldn't stop them. That was the first thing. And offensively, once they got down, Virginia not very good at playing catch-up, although twice they were down double digits in the regular season, and they came back and won those games. But it was just watching this team sort of implode in part, but also watching this Cinderella story, this UMBC team just have an unbelievable game was shocking. And look, here's the thing. I was worried. Here you are. We're broadcasting that day, and the first day of the tournament is always the hardest day because you have 4 games, and it's like climbing a mountain. And the Virginia UMBC game was going to be the last game of the day, and you're just thinking, oh, it's going to be a slow game, slow pace. I even thought I watched 4 games of UMBC prior to that game. I watched their conference tournament games. I watched the regular season game they had against Vermont in their conference. And I'm thinking, they may not score against Virginia. Like, that was sort of, full disclosure. That was what I was thinking as I'm preparing. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be so hard to maintain a level of energy. And it turned out to be the best game. And this team, not only did they score, I mean, they had the best offensive performance against the number 1 defense in all college basketball. Truly amazing.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.